The following was recorded in front of a live studio audience at the Studio 21 Podcast Café. This is the United Podcast Network.
Welcome to the Sicilian Corner, winner of the Italian Heritage Media Award, with your hosts, Tom Zappala and Mike Lamazzo.
Mikey boy, good morning.
Hey, how's everything going, T?
What's going on, brother?
You know something? I feel like, I don't know what. I feel very special here today. I'm surrounded with
some
two
special
lovelies.
guests.
And, you know, life is good, man. Life is good.
Why don't you introduce them?
Yep. Go ahead.
Oh, you want me to do that?
Oh, I thought that's what you'd agreed on.
I'd be happy to. We have two lovely ladies from the Lawrence Historic Society. We have Amita Kiley and Sarah Morin. Hi, Sarah.
Yay.
Hi, this is a special show for us, and the reason being is for those of you that live in the Merrimack Valley, the Lawrence History Center is very special to all of us. I mean, that is the place to go to learn about the history of not only Lawrence, but a lot of the Merrimack Valley. I've been there many times. Just some fantastic archives, periodicals, images, fantastic stuff. So we're going to get into that. But also, the reason we asked these two lovely ladies to join us today is because they are doing, or they have been doing, a special tribute to the Feast of the Three Saints. It's our 100th anniversary coming up. And we're working on a special project, and I'm going to throw a little tease out later on. Sarah and I have talked about it, and actually Tony Parmezzano and I have talked about it, as well as the feast chairman, Mikey. The only thing is I got to get some swordies out of these guys. What do you think?
I think that's very achievable, especially for the 100th.
Right? I think
you're going to have people coming out
of
of the woodwork for the 100th.
You know,
right?
I've run the idea by a couple of people just to get their opinions. They all thought it was a great idea. Sarah thought it was a great idea. So we're going to be working with her, looking very, very, very forward to it.
Why don't we ask Sarah, Tom, what her particular job is at the Lawrence History Center?
I am on the board at the Lawrence History Center. I've been there since about 2017, 2018. I'm the board secretary. And I joined in 2015 as a volunteer, working with Amita and Susan and working with their collections. And this institution, this organization is really important to me. It is in that area that my family spent a lot of time in. And it just, to know that the history of Lawrence is being preserved in such love and care just means so much to me. And I couldn't pass up an opportunity to be with an organization like that.
I think it's fantastic. It really is. Amita, what do you do for?
I'm the collections manager and research coordinator at the Lawrence History Center. I grew up in Lawrence and I majored in history in college at Northeastern, and I did my co-op job at the History Center, and I just fell in love with the mission, with the people there, with the collection, with the researchers. So I have been there ever since, and I take care of the collection, which includes photographs and books and objects and artifacts, and help researchers who come to learn about Lawrence.
What makes you decide what to collect and what not to collect? I'm sure you get a lot of people come in, I've got a great idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you can only do so much. You only have so much room.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's a great question. So our mission is to collect, preserve, share, and animate the history and heritage of Lawrence and its people. So we primarily focus on Lawrence and items related to Lawrence, items about Lawrence, but we sometimes take material that is related to the greater Merrimack Valley, if it has a tie to Lawrence. We have a collections committee that's made up of volunteers and board members, and we look at new donations that are offered and decide if they have a home in the archives, can we store them properly? So things come in weekly from all over the world. People donate things that they find or that were in their family for years, and they feel it's time to move them on. And so we preserve them in the archives and then make them available to researchers. And we have, we're in the old Essex Company headquarters at 6 Essex Street.
What a beautiful building.
Yeah,
talk about history.
It's such an honor to be in there every day and work in there. And so we own that complex outright, so we preserve it. We make improvements to it as needed, and so we have one climate-controlled area, but we're actually in the process of raising money to pretty much triple our climate-controlled space.
Wow, triple.
Yeah, we have.
That's pretty good, huh, Tom?
No, that's fantastic.
Yeah, we have. If I can read this real quick,
Go ahead.
we have. We've been awarded a Mass Cultural Council Facilities Fund grant in the amount of $105,000 to support.
How awesome is that?
Yeah, they're so
Now,
supportive
will that pay
of
for
us.
everything, or do you have to do some fundraising besides?
We still have some more money to raise, and that will increase our total climate-controlled area from 2,000 square feet to 9,980 square feet.
Wow.
So we have until May 12th of 2024 to match the 105,000. 2024. We have to match it 1-to-1 or we lose it. But so far we've raised about $95,000, and we need another $10,000 to meet the 1-to-1
Is this
match.
in addition to what just took place recently?
Yes. Yep. This is
It's
another
this
fundraiser.
is separate, huh?
Yes, we're always
Wow.
fundraising.
So the person in charge of collecting funds is a very busy young
Yes.
lady. That's for
Amita,
sure.
I have a question.
Yeah.
When it comes to a particular collection, do people make recommendations to you guys? Hey, I've got some images here, some really cool history, and you may want to do some do a exhibit on it and do the research. Because I have a really cool exhibit for you guys.
Okay.
Uh-oh.
Really
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
No, I'm
Yes,
serious.
yes.
Now, Michael, I, in another life, I have another show. I am I co-host a collectible show with Red Sox Hall of Famer Rico Petrocelli.
Oh, wow.
And
You guys know who he is?
I know.
I'm impressed.
Same.
I'm impressed.
And
Yeah.
I've written quite a few books. I'll tell you what would be a really cool thing for you guys to research. There are 3 or 4 ball players that have come out of the city of Lawrence that have really unique histories.
Good idea.
One being, his name played in 1909, 1910. His name was Wild Bill Donovan.
Okay.
And Wild Bill Donovan was he was one of the best pitchers in the American League. He won 20 games 3 or 4 times. He became the manager of the Detroit Tigers.
Wow.
And tragically, he was killed in a train accident. The Tiger team was in a train accident, and he was the only guy that got killed in 1931.
Wow.
Another guy, Mike, you remember Johnny Broker?
Absolutely.
Johnny Broker, I mean, the history on Johnny Broker is so rich. Guy that went to Phillips Academy, Yale,
Very smart.
pitched in the World Series for the Yankees, won 16 games for the Yankees, and then a third guy who played right around when Bill Donovan played in 1910. His name was Doc Casey. And he was a utility ball player. I think he played for the Chicago Cubs, but then went on to become a very prominent dentist.
Wow.
So just some really cool stuff.
Yeah.
It's nice little spin.
Yeah.
You know?
We have some material on Johnny Broca and Patsy Donovan. I don't know if that's the same.
Patsy
Donovan.
No, Patsy
Patsy's
Donovan is
different.
another
Separate.
player.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I forget which one, but I think one of them was responsible for bringing Babe Ruth to the Red Sox.
That's
of the
correct.
baseball players.
Patsy
Yeah.
Donovan.
I'm impressed, girl. Wow.
And then I know that expanding out of the city of Lawrence, you've got Steve Bedrosian from Methuen,
Yep.
who won the Cy Young Award.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Quite a few ball
It's
players.
a rich history.
Yeah, it
I think something you guys should consider.
Definitely. One of our board members, Brian Sheehy, who was
Oh, I know
actually...
Brian.
Oh, Brian,
Yeah.
yeah. He
Yeah.
was an intern when I was an intern. At Lawrence History Center. But he does the historic baseball, and he's very interested in that. And so he would
Brian's
be
a great kid.
Yeah, he's awesome.
Ellen and I did a book signing with Brian, for Brian, up in Newbury. That's where he plays his games.
Oh, okay.
His antique game.
Yeah.
We are chatting with Amita Kiley and Sarah Morin from the Lawrence History Society. All right, Sarah, let's switch gears now.
Sarah
okay?
Morin, Barth, Barth, Barth. Correct?
Yeah,
Really?
I
Very nice.
got married in 2020.
Congratulations.
What a year. Thank you.
Sarah, that's fabulous. Let's talk about the Feast of the Three Saints. What made you decide to collect stories on the feast?
Oh, goodness. That's a great question. So I was thinking a lot about my family history, and the one staple that has been the constant, and that has always been the feast. It's brought so much joy to me, to my parents, my grandparents, even my great-grandparents. There's so much history in Lawrence, and it's very much centered around the joy around the feast. And I was thinking a lot about, just these stories that are just not told. There's, all these different stories of people that, experience these little joyous moments with their families. Maybe they moved out of state and come back every year, or they, got engaged the weekend of the feast and they got married of the feast. They had children, and everything
All
is centered
kinds of
around.
subplots.
There's so many things centered around Labor Day weekend, but really around the feast, and knowing that my family has this history with the feast, and that they've been part of, Holy Rosary Church, which has been it went from that to Corpus Christi Parish, then now it's a shrine. There's so much history around that I don't want to see a lot of that get lost, because I'm seeing a lot of generations now getting older.
And plus, it's getting diluted.
It's
where were your grandparents from, I want to ask?
Yeah, so my grandmother, Mary Rose, was born here in the
Mary
United
Rose.
States. But my grandfather, Nicholas Fiorilla,
Yeah, you showed me his
I will
picture.
have you zoom in if you want to see his passport. So this is my grandfather, the little one right here.
His last name was Fiorella?
Yep, it was Fiorilla. So this is a picture of the passport, and I like to tell people about this because the Lawrence History Center did me a wonderful one. They gave me a gift, essentially. My great aunt, Rose Paolino, she was the keeper of this passport. She's the only one born here in the United States out of her siblings, and she ended up preserving this, and I didn't want to see it get lost or ripped or ruined or flooded for whatever reason, and they were actually able to scan really high resolution images of this passport for me.
Wow.
So I didn't have to
Very
take it
cool.
away from her, but I was able to
Very cool.
scan it.
That is beautiful.
So
Yeah.
they came from
Nice
Malili,
memento.
Sicily. Yep. So
From Elise, you mentioned something, Sarah, that struck a chord with me about how people come back and how it means so much to them. Quick story. You may or may not know this story. One year, when I was involved very, very closely with the festival and the procession. And we took a left, as you know, the procession route.
Yep.
We took a left, we went down Newbury Street, and we took a right onto Garden Street, heading down towards Jackson. Halfway down Garden Street, this limousine turns and heads towards us. And there was a bride and a groom had just gotten married, and she jumped out of the car to give money to the saints, because she says, this has always been part of my life. And they got back in the limousine, back down, and off they went. Just stories like that are just fantastic.
Yeah, for everyone that I've talked to, in my community, right, the feast is one of those things that everyone just knows about. And I'll give you a good example of this. Growing up, there was an Osco drugstore down the street from where I grew up. And there was always this woman that worked behind the counter, and we'd talk and we got to know her, And every year she was at the feast and we'd see her. Well, eventually she moved away across the country. But every year she comes back to the feast and we see her, and it's like a joyous reunion. And even though all my friends may have moved out of town or moved across country, I always almost expect to see them at the feast.
It's amazing, and you're dead on. The feast, obviously, Mike knows this, is very close to me. My grandfather was one of the 4 founding members of the organization. But you're hitting a nerve about what some of the people doing. I know there was one woman, and I think she's still alive, since she was a little kid, the confetti. She would collect the confetti, put it in a little case, and keep it next to her bed. And every year she would change out the confetti. I don't know how many years she did that. So again, some really, really, really cool stories. Amy, do you have any memories of the feast yourself?
Yeah, I've attended it pretty much every year growing up in Lawrence. we always love, of course, the confetti and the celebration, but we also love the indoor yard sale in the hall. And it seems to be in there where I see people who I don't see all year or haven't seen in years, but I see them there. There's people who I haven't seen in years or I used to know long ago, and then I'll see them there, old classmates or old parents of classmates. And then just looking through all, everything that's for sale. Like sometimes I'll find Lawrence-related things that I'll buy for the archives. Like I bought some Holohan's glasses a couple of years ago, or there was maybe
Of course you did.
We're always on the hunt for things, Dad.
That's a really cool collectible.
Yeah. So we collect anything related to Lawrence, so that includes the breweries. But yeah, just like Sarah said, like it's a joyous occasion. It's such a special weekend, especially when a few weeks before.
Raise your mic up. There you go.
Especially a few weeks before when we start seeing everything get set up, and then just the nights with the sunset and the lights.
We have to say the History Center is they help us out so much because we have the Vada, which is the wagon that the Saints are on.
Yep.
And we usually put it on your property, so we have easy access.
Yeah, we keep it there.
Yeah.
We do.
So I mean that everybody works together.
Yeah.
And that's the key to it.
Exactly.
It really is.
And the memories, some of the stories that you've heard, there's probably 4 or 5 times those many stories that have not been told.
Right.
And this is the mission that you girls are on, correct?
Right. So
Absolutely.
essentially, if you look at it, right, you just said, hundreds of stories, right? And 100 stories, right, for 100 years just seemed like a very simple goal for me to have, because, if you look at us right here, and even those in the studio, we could come up with at least, 10 to 20 stories of our own. So,
Listen,
to ask people for it.
We have to take a quick break. We've got the girls from the Lawrence History Center in. We come back, maybe we will talk about some of those stories. Hang in there. We'll be right back.
Ciao, this is Esther of You, Me, and Sicily. I want to talk to you about Tommy Amin and the great staff at Butcher Boy Market. Families, foodies, and home chefs come together at Butcher Boy to talk good food and create traditions. They offer the best in quality cuts of beef, pork, lamb, poultry, and restaurant-style steaks and chops. Produce? All of their produce is hand-selected to complement any meal or even to make it your main course. Their deli serves fresh roast beef, turkey, and beautiful imported Italian cold cuts, cheeses, and antipasto. And don't forget the Butcher Boy Bakery, featuring sweet delectables from all over the state, as well as their very own bakery. That's Butcher Boy, where the secret to a great steak is, of course, the steak. Located at 1077 Osgood Street in North Andover, Massachusetts, in the Butcher Boy Plaza. Ciao.
Today, Lawrence General Hospital has affiliations with leading Boston academic medical centers. Top specialists from Beth Israel Deaconess Medical Center and Floating Hospital for Children at Tufts Medical Center work with our local doctors to bring world-class care close to home. Today, amazing partnerships are happening at Lawrence General Hospital. To learn more, visit lawrencegeneral.org/today.
Italian artisan cuisine combines simple, fresh ingredients with time-honored preparation to create an incredible culinary experience. At Tuscan Kitchen, located in Salem's historic Depot District, talented chefs prepare everything in-house from scratch for all to see. Guests enjoy their meal literally in our kitchen as food is prepared right in front of you. Wood ovens burn from morning till night, roasting vegetables, baking bread, and firing delightful thin-crust pizzas. Prime steaks are seared on a wood grill. A rotisserie slowly roasts marinated whole chickens and lamb, while a pasta maker creates fresh fettuccine. More than just artisan cuisine, Tuscan Kitchen features the wine bar, live entertainment, weekly wine tastings, and elegant private dining and event space. Call 603-952-4875 or visit TuscanKitchen.com to make a reservation and learn more about the culinary adventure that awaits. In Italy, cooking is an art form. Tuscan Kitchen. Experience artisan Italian.
Essex Orthopedics and Optima Sports Medicine each pleased to announce the opening of their American College of Radiology accredited MRI unit at their location at 16 Pelham Road in Salem, New Hampshire. So now, in addition to receiving the best orthopedic care in the Merrimack Valley, as well as physical and occupational therapy at Optima Sports Therapy and Rehab, you can also have your MRI, all in one convenient location. The doctors and staff of Essex Orthopedics and Optima Sports Medicine have been dedicated to providing outstanding medical care to the Merrimack Valley in southern New Hampshire since 1984. Located on Route 97, just off Exit 2 from Route 93 North, on the second floor of the Workout Club of Salem. You deserve the best care, and that's exactly what you'll get from the board-certified surgeons at Essex Orthopedics and Optima Sports Medicine. Please call 603-898-2244 to schedule an appointment.
A loyal sponsor for the Sicilian Corner is Hilton Oil Company. Hilton Oil has been located right across from the South Lawrence Common since 1932 at 101 South Union Street. Hilton Oil Company specializes in 24-hour burner service, oil deliveries, including automatic deliveries, serving all the Merrimack Valley area, plus portions of southern New Hampshire. If you want your car fixed right the first time, bring it to Hilton's state-of-the-art service station. Remember, Hilton's is also a Mass State Inspection Station. Hilton Oil Company, 101 South Union Street in Lawrence. Call 978-687-9793.
This is Cindy
and Mike Kunstler,
owners and operators of Four Oaks Country Club and Grazie Italian Restaurant in Drake, Massachusetts.
Grazie Italian Restaurant is the hidden gem of the Merrimack Valley.
Why is that?
In addition to the spectacular views overlooking the golf course, we have an incredible new chef, Oscar Figueroa.
We still have all the favorites, but Oscar has created a lot of excitement with his new specials.
Scallops, seared to perfection.
House-made ravioli with farm-fresh local corn.
And buttery, tender, lazy man's lobster, just to name a few.
You have to come experience Grazie Italian Restaurant for yourself.
Grazie Italian Restaurant, located at Four Oaks Country Club, 80 Meadow Creek Drive in Drake, Massachusetts. Hope to see you soon.
Love that.
Okay, we are back and chatting with Amy and Sarah from the Lawrence History Center. Listen, you guys have some cool stuff there that I can see. Can you share some of it with us?
Sure, yeah. Amita was really great about bringing a lot of things from the Lawrence History Center's collection, just so you can kind of get a little bit of an idea as to what they have in terms of the St. Alfeo Society and the feast. And I brought some personal pictures myself just to share with you a little bit about what this feast means to me as well. So I can start, I'll show you one of my pictures and then we'll swap off and let Amita. So this picture here is probably maybe my third or fourth feast, but you can see me, the little one here, but I've got my grandmother and my mom, and we're standing in front of the common, the bandstand over there. So that's
very
pretty
cool.
special.
Yeah.
Amita, you brought some pictures?
Yeah, so I had to limit myself because I have a box off camera full of archives, but we had to only pull out a few. So I focused on just bringing collection materials from regarding the feast. So this one I think is 1935, and that's probably our oldest photograph of the feast.
I've got some old ones that I'm going to give you guys.
Oh, excellent. And I should say, too, like Sarah did with her passport, sometimes people don't want to donate original items, so they just donate. They let us borrow it to make a scan or a copy, and we're so appreciative of that. Some of the material we only have copies of, but it all helps tell the story. We have another one from 1955.
That's 1955. Yeah.
Yep, and we have a couple of these ones,
look
and
at
it just
the people,
shows the crowd.
Well, you know what's interesting about that picture? If you see, Michael, that was what do you notice about it, Michael? That's the moment of glory. What do you notice about it?
I can't really see it that well,
hold up.
Tom.
No, well, you can just,
There we go.
It's a smaller cup.
That's the moment of glory, and you notice where it's
You're in a different location.
Correct. It's in front of Pappy's Bakery.
Yeah, how come?
Because that's where the moment of glory used to be.
Oh, it's always at that intersection where we do the torchlight now?
Well, right down
further, yeah.
Yeah, and then they moved it to where the organization is.
I can't believe I'm looking at the people. Oh my gosh!
If you look closely at that picture, especially with a magnifying glass, you'll see some of your old buddies in there. You know who's in there? Frankie Tasca. There's a bunch of guys that that are in those pictures.
That's wonderful.
Yeah,
This is great.
That's a very cool.
That's a zoomed-in version in case you want to check it out.
Yeah.
You know what's interesting too, ladies, about that? Like, now we have the lights and we have the poles, and we plug into the poles. You know what they used to plug the lights into? People's houses.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness! Wow.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
And I'm
People
sure-
used to allow them just to run the cord right through their window. Boom.
Oh, that's awesome.
Tommy,
That's how they would
am
plug
I
it.
wrong in saying the Fisherman's Feast still do that?
That I don't know.
I saw some wires going into people's homes.
Yeah, possibly.
I mean, the apartments, we're looking at this picture. Well, all the apartments, people lived on Common Street, on
Right.
Newbury Street. And it was a get-together. Everybody would go to the house. When it was time to eat, they'd go back to the house, have a bite to eat, and then come back downstairs. Right, Tommy? You were...
I mean, Mike. Again, this is before my time, but my mother used to tell us stories because my grandfather, he was the first treasurer, and they used to when they lived. This is when I was probably about 3 or 4. We lived on the
What
corner.
was that?
of
1920?
Yeah, corner of Haverhill and East Haverhill. But when the band would come up Newbury Street and get to the corner of Haverhill and Newbury, they would put the drums down. They'd put the instruments down, and my mother and my grandmother and some of my aunts would bring them out either Crispellis or just meatball sandwiches, and then they'd proceed on.
Oh my
Cool
goodness!
stories.
Yeah, no, and just talking about this with my mom prior to coming on here, she was telling me stories of our family. They would, play cards and share meals together, and
Exactly.
go visit the feast and come home and be with family. But then, it was always intertwined, which is a really beautiful thing. And I just don't want to see these stories get lost.
And back then, the feast was just Saturday and Sunday. We added
Correct.
Friday not too long ago.
We added Fridays. Yep.
I called my brother Bob on the way down here this morning, and he used to spend a lot of time with my nana Messina, and she lived on Garden Street.
Yep.
And he spent a lot of time with her. And I said, did Nana ever tell you any interesting stories? Because she loved the Three Saints, loved them.
Yep.
And he says, that's a good question. He says, I can't think of any, but if I do, I'll give you a call or I'll text you. So we'll see if we can come up with
tuned.
something.
Stay
Yeah,
tuned.
I'll hold his feet to the fire. I'll hold his feet to the fire. Now, this is a nice picture you have here.
Yeah, so we have.
What is this one?
So I brought some, in addition to the archives on the feast. We have information about every aspect of Lawrence. So I brought this one special because Mike
Who's
is
better than you? Oh, my
I
God.
knew Mike is
This
in
comes
it.
back every week. This comes
But we
back to
also
haunt us.
have something
Make
else
sure you
too.
toss in the bubble.
There's other things.
And so
We'll
this.
talk about that later.
Yeah, so this is the original photo that I brought. The original photos at the History Center are kept in a climate-controlled vault for preservation purposes, and researchers look at scans or at copies, but we wanted to bring out the original to show you.
And it's amazing how there's only 4 of those guys left.
Wow.
Oh my
He
goodness!
hurts my feelings. He cuts me up to the quick. Thank you.
Yep, and
No,
then
that is, well, hold on. Let's tell our audience. That is the 1961 Lawrence High School state champs, led by the famous
Josie.
defensive end Mike Lamazzo, all Scholastic, who was offered scholarships to the University of Maryland, Penn State, Essex Training School, all those fantastic.
Oh, one
places.
more you forgot.
What did I forget?
Your alma mater.
Northeastern.
Northeastern got in touch with me, and they wanted to
Nice.
give me a scholarship, not for football, which I was pretty good at. They wanted me to throw the shot put. The coach's name was Joe Zabinski.
Wow.
And when I kept on thinking he's going to offer me something for football, throw the shot put.
Wow.
Crazy.
That's funny.
Anything else, girls, you
We
want to?
also brought,
Yeah, don't forget
so
that.
we have a huge library at the Lawrence History Center. We have about 3,000 volumes, and they are books that were that are about Lawrence or about themes of Lawrence, or they were written by Laurentians.
Well, that book. No, actually, I
You
had
did
a
a
lot of
nice
fun.
job on that.
Yep, so
I had a lot of fun writing.
Yeah.
I know you did.
I wrote that book what inspired me, I just wanted my kids, I wrote it for my kids because I was brought up in the city of Lawrence. My kids were all brought up in the suburbs, and I really wanted them to get a flavor for what it was like to grow up in an all-Italian neighborhood, go to an all-Italian school, and grow up with all great Italian friends. By the way, and I still get together with about 5 or 6 of them 3 or 4 times a year for dinners.
That's
friends
terrific.
Oh, nice.
Old friends are your best friends.
Yes,
I always say that.
Definitely.
I
Tommy,
want to ask.
doesn't this look nice?
Yeah, Mikey, did that come from All Things Sicilian?
I don't think so.
Because they had one just like that.
The person who donated it said his mother bought it at the feast one year. I'm not sure what year it was, but that's a story we got with it. So,
And then, of course, you have the 75th, the hard copy book in front of Mike. That was, we put that out for our 75th. That was just some great stories. I tell you, that thing is chock full of some really cool stories.
Good stories, yeah.
From people that just, lived through the feast and the festival. For you folks out there that, if you're ever in the greater Boston area, I know that we reach out to people all over the world now, but if you're ever in the greater Boston area, you really should come to the Feast of St. Alfio. It's our 100th. This year, I think it's going to be it's going to be unbelievable. It's Labor Day weekend in the city of Lawrence. And it is going to be a very, very special feast because we have all kinds of cool stuff that's happening that we haven't announced yet.
Tommy, why don't you mention about the Sicilian band? I mean, that's something that we're very honored to have this year.
Yeah, that's still a little fluid, but
okay. I thought it was
that's okay. No, I mean we are bringing with the thanks to guys like Dominic Messina and Al Laspina and I believe Steve Zappala. We are bringing in, it's not a Sicilian band, it's a Sicilian orchestra. Comprised of the best musicians from the different bands in Sicily. So it's like an all-star band.
Wow.
And they are going to be coming. There's going to be a couple of different concerts, but they will be not only marching with us, with the Saints, but they'll be appearing on Saturday night on the Union Street Bandstand for a concert. So we're real excited about that. I think it's going to be about 26 or 30 musicians, and they're bringing along a tenor. So it's this is going to be really impressive, really impressive. Wow. So looking forward to that. You guys are talking about stories. Can people still share the stories with you?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. This is a very fluid thing. There's no real deadline for this, which is great. I just hope that, the stories can come in before the feast. That way the History Center has time to process and maybe share a few of them.
And Sarah created a page on our website where people can go right to the Lawrence History.
Oh, they can. I was just going to ask you that. Okay.
LawrenceHistory.org.
Yep. So there's the website that you can go on, or if you, do not want, and I actually think this might even be a more beautiful way of doing this as well. You can write down your story on a piece of paper and just send it to the History Center. If you are more into preserving someone's voice or seeing their video, I would encourage everyone to sit down with their loved ones and maybe record them on your phone or take a video of you interviewing, because these are really special moments that I think a lot of people take for granted. I never realized the importance of hearing someone's voice until someone's gone. So I think having that preserved with the History Center can be really special, and to have, your stories being told by the loved ones themselves is something really special.
If someone wanted to come by the History Center and drop something off, how would they go about doing it? You need to set up an appointment, or how something like that work?
It's best to call ahead just because we're a small staff of 2. We have wonderful volunteers and interns, but it's best to call ahead and set up a time. But if not, we're there Tuesday through Friday from 9 to 4.
9 to 4.
Yep, and you can park right in our courtyard off of Essex Street, so people don't have to worry about finding
parking.
parking.
Can I pull my car in the blacksmith shop?
Yeah.
I do.
So a lot of, obviously, you guys, you have a budget and you have to operate. So is a lot of it based on grants from the Commonwealth and from the government and things like that?
Yep. Susan is always writing for grants. We don't receive any automatic funding. We don't have an endowment.
Don't.
We don't. So we get foundation support from individuals. We have a gift shop where we sell copies of books, copies of our photos. We encourage people to take out a membership to the Lawrence History Center.
How can people find out what kind of books are available at the Lawrence History Center?
Yep, they can go to our website, lawrencehistory.org, and we have an online gift shop which shows what we have available to buy.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we have thousands of books in the archives that people can come to the History Center to look through as well, and those you can search on our website too.
You know, Tom, we had last week, we had some very severe cold weather here, as you know.
I wouldn't know, Mike.
That's okay. What is it, 82 where you are today?
Today it's going to be about 80.
80.
About 80.
Hey, you got a cold wave. Anyway, people suffered a lot of damage with broken pipes. I knew you were coming on today, and I'm saying to myself, that's an old building. I mean, you know, we're talking
1883. Yeah.
And thank God you didn't suffer any damage at all.
Yeah, we were very grateful.
That's a very historic building in its own right.
Oh, no question.
It's on the National Register of Historic Places. And
that's very cool.
Yeah, in addition to the collection that you see here, which are things people donated, we also have the original records of the Essex Company, which was the group that actually created Lawrence in the 1840s. And they were in that building from 1883, about 100 years. And then when they left all of their records behind. And so we now
you
own
still
and
got
preserve.
That vault?
Oh, yes. Yep. We have 3
Sarah,
vaults.
I just want to say, Sarah,
go ahead.
the thing that impressed me the most about the city, I was always impressed as a young kid, is the dam. That Lawrence Dam, to me, Tommy, I was so impressed as a youngster. Yeah. And then when I became a teenager, we'd be going down to Theater Row, which was naturally Broadway. And before they built the electric company power station, we had access from South Lawrence. You could actually walk underneath the falls. There's a ledge tee that's probably out maybe
I had heard about that.
7 feet. And we used to walk underneath the falls. The water would be splashing down. There's moss all over the place. You're slipping and sliding. There's nothing but rocks beneath you. And like nuts, the 3 of us would be underneath there. And we'd be just strolling along and watching the water go by us. And I think about it now, and I'm saying, keep Patsufi.
Not to change gears a little bit, but let's expand on what the History Center is all about. Now, I understand. Tell us about the new book, COVID Conversations. What is this all about?
So speaking of oral histories and telling stories, this was based out of a project of oral histories that we collected during the early pandemic. We have a large oral history collection. At the History Center, we have about 700 interviews that we've collected over the years since our founding in 1978. And for the past 10 years, our board president, Mark Cutler, who is a teacher at Phillips Academy, has had his Spanish language students interview different people in Lawrence about all different topics, and he would videotape them as well as, have the audio. And so that project was all set to go on as planned in spring of 2020, but then COVID hit. And so we figured we need to capture this moment in time, but how are we going to do this? So we switched the whole project over to Zoom, and we're able to capture these oral histories with people. And so Professor Susan Tripathy at UMass Lowell found out about our project, and she's a sociology professor, and her students were also interviewing people about during the pandemic, about their experiences in the pandemic. So we thought it would be a good idea to capture these stories together and create a book. So this COVID Conversation.
Perfect timing to do it.
Yep. Sarah has an interview featured in here. And we're having a book event on Thursday, March 9th at Altair in Lawrence, which is at 275 Essex Street at 6 p.m., where people interviewed and featured in the book will be there to talk about their stories, and the editors of the book will be there. And Altair is just a wonderful place. If people haven't been there, Cafe Azteca is now in Altair as well, the Mexican restaurant on Congress Street.
Wait a second.
Possibly hate that.
Wait, they've reopened?
Yep, they left the Common Street location, and they've reopened in Altair. It's the same owners, Mary Guerrero.
Their food is unbelievable.
It is. So, you can get the Cafe Azteca menu at Altair on Essex Street.
Very
And it's just a wonderful resource.
Food is great.
Thinking
Food was
frozen margarita with salt.
No, man, that Mexican
You come in with me?
was the best.
Yep,
Fantastic.
you can still get the food and listen to
You talked about the founder, Eartha Dengler.
Yeah.
Why don't you tell our audience exactly who she was? I mean, I know she was a German immigrant, but that's about all I know. Was she the founder of the Lawrence?
Yep, she was. She lived through World War II in Germany and just couldn't wait to come to the United States once it was safe. And so she was able to come here in the 1950s, and she lived in Andover, and in the 1970s started volunteering at the YWCA in Lawrence. And she just fell in love with the city, with the immigrant history, the women's history, the labor history.
That's cool.
And around that time, the YWCA was about 80 years old, maybe, and they had all their original records of all these immigrant women that have lived in Lawrence for that long.
That lived at the YW.
Yeah, and they didn't have anywhere to give the records, and they didn't really need them for themselves because they were obsolete, but there was nowhere to give them. And
Guess who took them?
Eartha. And that got Eartha thinking, what else is at risk of being lost? This is not acceptable. This city is important. The history is important. The story of these working people that are the heart and soul of the city is important. And so she founded Immigrant City Archives, which is our legal name. And that was in 1978. And she started collecting, started interviewing people.
So it wasn't all that long ago.
Not that long ago, no.
And she's not with us anymore, I'm assuming?
No, she passed away in 2013. I forget the number of years, but it was to the day of her founding of Immigrant City Archives.
But you guys still remember, I mean, the award you give away every year, that's very prestigious. I mean, if you get that, I'm surprised, Tommy, you haven't won it. I mean it. I mean, if I had to think of one person that deserves it would have to be you.
All right, listen, we have to take a break. You're killing me, Michael. You're killing me. Although I think I do deserve it. But
I knew that was
another conversation. All right, so we're going to take a quick break. We come back. We have one more segment with both Sarah and Amy from the Lawrence History Center. Hang in there. We'll be right back.
Ciao, this is Esther of You, Me, and Sicily. I want to talk to you about Tommy Amin and the great staff at Butcher Boy Market. Families, foodies, and home chefs come together at Butcher Boy to talk good food and create traditions. They offer the best in quality cuts of beef, pork, lamb, poultry, and restaurant-style steaks and chops. Produce? All of their produce is hand-selected to complement any meal or even to make it your main course. Their deli serves fresh roast beef, turkey, and beautiful imported Italian cold cuts, cheeses, and antipasto. And don't forget the Butcher Boy Bakery, featuring sweet delectables from all over the state, as well as their very own bakery. That's Butcher Boy, where the secret to a great steak is, of course, the steak. Located at 1077 Osgood Street in North Andover, Massachusetts, in the Butcher Boy Plaza. Ciao!
This is David from the Sicilian Corner. You know, Mike, Tom, and I love to go to Salisbury Beach, but we love different things and can never agree where to go. Tom likes the casual family-style dining with the great Italian cuisine, Capri's Seaside Italian Kitchen and Pizzeria. Me? I love the elegant romantic vibes Sea Glass with the amazing view and terrific menu, with prices that make it the place you want to visit each and every week. Mike loves a drink in his hand and a cool ocean breeze right off the surf and the rhythms of a cooler reggae band. We all know Mike loves Bob Marley tunes at Surfside. Who doesn't love a great show? National acts, comedy, regional favorites in the beautiful and intimate Blue Ocean Concert Hall. Lucky for us, Atlantic Hospitality is the host of all of these great places, and they treat everyone like they are Mike Lamazzo. Best of all, we never have to choose. Park the car once and all this fun is right at your fingertips. You can have it all in the heart of Salisbury Beach. Find out all the ways you can have a great night at Salisbury Beach at NorthshorePavilion.com. And Mike, Tom, and I will see you there.
This is Tom Zappala. Located in the heart of downtown Haverhill, the Haverhill Beef Company is a full-service, old-fashioned butcher shop and meat market that continues to be a valued family tradition since 1952. Peter and Monica Carboni's Haverhill Beef offers individualized service from an outstanding selection of marinated sirloin tips, homemade sausage, marinated chicken, and thick, juicy Chairman Reserve steaks. Your family deserves the best, so call Peter at 978-374-4795 or visit their website at www.haverhillbeef.com.
Hi, this is Mike, and I would like to tell you about the Deborah Care Law Offices, a firm that is focused on estate planning, probate, trust administration, and elder law issues. You will feel comfortable discussing important issues concerning both you and your loved ones, as well as having the information you need to make an informed decision about your family's future. How do I know? Because I'm a client of Dan Deborah Care. If you want to have peace of mind knowing that your loved ones are protected, call Deborah Care Law Offices today. In Massachusetts, 978-686-4645. In New Hampshire, 603-894-4141.
At Catadella Funeral Home, we reinvest in our business to provide your family with the best facilities. It begins with a beautifully landscaped exterior, parking for 250 vehicles, and a comfortable and inviting access to our renovated interior. Funerals can be costly, so you should review and compare plans to make sure you receive services that are fairly priced. I invite you to experience the Catadella difference in cost, facility, and service.
Catadella's honoring and celebrating the lives of the people we loved, providing exceptional care since 1929.
This is Cindy.
And Mike Kunstler,
owners and operators of Four Oaks Country Club and Grazie Italian Restaurant in Drake, Massachusetts.
Grazie Italian Restaurant is the hidden gem of the Merrimack Valley.
Why is that?
In addition to the spectacular views overlooking the golf course, we have an incredible new chef, Oscar Figueroa.
We still have all the favorites, but Oscar has created a lot of excitement with his new specials.
Scallops, seared to perfection.
House-made ravioli with farm-fresh local corn.
And buttery, tender, lazy man's lobster, just to name a few.
You have to come experience Grazie Italian Restaurant for yourself.
Grazie Italian Restaurant, located at Four Oaks Country Club, 80 Meadow Creek Drive in Drake, Massachusetts. Hope to see you soon.
And we're back.
Oh, we are back. Okay.
I don't want to steal your thunder, you know what I mean?
No. You know something, Mikey? I was daydreaming. What do you want from me?
You know something?
Hey,
there's nothing wrong with that.
I know, you do it all the time.
I'm very good
girls,
at it.
Let's talk about fundraising. Again, I know you guys depend on grants and things like that, but do you have fundraising events for the History Center?
We do. We have one coming up. Actually, the next one coming up is the Eartha Dengler History Award event, which we were just talking about. And that's where we honor someone who's made significant contributions to preserving Lawrence history. And so we can't announce yet who's getting the award, but we do have the date. It's going to be June 8th, 2023. At 5:30, and it's going to be held at Central Catholic this year. We always highlight a different place in Lawrence. We've had it in Old Mills and St. Anne's Church, all different places, but it's going to be for the first time at Central Catholic this year. So
it's a big venue.
Yeah, June 8th, 2023. And so
Who decides who's going to be the winner? What, you?
No, not me. There are different people nominate names, so anyone can send us a name if they have someone.
How many times have Tommy sent his name in? We can talk here. We can talk.
And then the board, which Sarah's a part of, are really the ones that choose out of all the people who were brought up.
And sometimes it can be one person, sometimes it can be a group. In the past, we've done the Greater Lawrence Young Professionals Network to honor, in that time it was, 40 years, our celebration? So,
we were celebrating 40 years.
So the Lawrence History was celebrating their 40th anniversary, so they honored the year before four individuals
Joe Bella was one of them
that had made a significant difference in
That's
the
fantastic.
past history, but then they looked forward and said, who are the people that are going to be making history for the future of Lawrence? So it can be one person or multiple people.
What do you girls think of the canals that flow down from the Merrimack on the south and the north? To me, I used to think that was going to become a focal point of the city because you come off 495, you're driving down Marsden Street. I pictured that all tree lined. I mean, a place where people could go out and walk and, and it never really, now, the canals are really not being, you know what I'm talking about, Tom? Now it's, it's there, and it's the machinery that used to allow the water to get in. It's all decaying and everything else. I mean, that's part of the history of it.
Definitely. And
I wish they. To me, I envisioned something totally. I used to talk. I talked about that in the '60s. So, anyway, but it's never really materialized.
It's a huge opportunity that the city has, and these canals are historic. They're a feat in engineering.
Absolutely.
They deserve to be treated as best they can be filled with water, and be really a focal point for the city. And hopefully that will happen. I know there's back and forth with deteriorating canal walls, and then do they fix them, or what do they do? And then sometimes water goes into the basements of the abutting properties, so it's a complicated issue. But
once a month on Sunday, they would let the water run really low. They'd run the water out of it. They closed the fresh water coming in, and you're 11, 12 years old. You're full of mischief, and we used to go in that water, and it was only a couple of feet high at the time. And we'd try to catch the carp. And those things are so slimy. Jesus. I mean, we stunk. I mean, the smell was, why we did it, don't ask me. But it's up here in my head. That we would go down there, Tommy, fight with these carp. They weighed 20 pounds. I mean, it was crazy.
What is Richard Padova's role with the History Center?
That's a great question. He was on our board for a long time, and he works at the Lawrence Heritage State Park during the summer, and he also does tours. So I was going to say, you talked about the dam. The Lawrence Heritage State Park offers these wonderful walking tours in the summer months for free. One of them is up to the dam. They have a walking tour of the canal area of the Common. They offer boat rides on the Merrimack.
I remember.
All for free, and Rich Padova leads these tours and provides the historical
and also a contributor to the Lawrence History Center is Joe Bella.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Joe is a very dear friend of ours. He's been on the show.
Joe's a great guy.
Yes.
Society
By the way,
both of them society members.
Both members, members of the St. Alpheus Society. Absolutely.
Richard Padova actually assisted me a few years ago when I was asked to speak at the annual meeting for them. I ended up giving a talk on the history of Holy Rosary Church. It was shortly after the fire that had happened at the rectory. So Rich Padova was really instrumental in helping me with that. So we have really knowledgeable people around us, which we're very grateful for.
That's a not a sore spot with me, but it's something that I wish somebody would do something with, and that is that beautiful, magnificent building, the old Holy Rosary School. The bones of that building are still so beautiful, and it's been sitting there now for 50 years. I hope that somebody that has a few bucks in their pocket, Mike Lamazzo, will step up to the plate. Will step up to the plate and maybe do something with that building, whether it be apartments or something. It's just a gorgeous building.
Nunzio DeMarca, God bless his soul, really tried to do what you're saying. And
I know that. I was involved with Ray.
Yeah, and it never came to be. But is the roof intact, or is water getting
There were two issues with that. When we looked at it, we brought an engineer in, and the two issues were, before you could do anything, the roof was pretty much gone.
Yeah.
So it was, it deteriorated over all those years. And then there's a tremendous amount of asbestos in the building.
Oh, okay.
But down where the boiler room is and stuff. So it's a listen. Is it a costly endeavor? Absolutely. But if the right people, that could fund it, did it, I think it would be very successful. I really think it would make a beautiful apartment building.
I agree.
I do too. And if the foundation is good,
Not only that, but I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, Amy, I don't know this, but right next door to it is the little schoolyard. But across the street from where I grew up on Havel Street is that other parking lot that was at one time owned by the church and by the convent. I don't know who owns that now, but if it's still owned by the diocese, there's plenty of parking there for an apartment building.
I don't know. I think some of that got actually sold because when I was
Did it?
doing a little bit of research on this, because I had to dig and dig.
A little bit of research.
Well, you know something?
I had
A
to do
little bit of
some really hard research on the history of the church, but in doing so, I found a lot about all of the societies that came with this church, including St. Alphaeus.
I'll tell you a funny story, Sarah. I grew up literally across the street from
Real
that parking
close.
lot at 103 Havel Street. And when I was growing up, there was a big apartment building there. It was called the Murphy Apartment Building. And there weren't many people in it, but it burned down to the ground. And actually, one person died in the fire. So they condemned the building. And my father met with Father Natali, who was the pastor of Holy Rosary at the time. And they cut a deal, the two of them. My father bought the property from the state or from the city for $1.
I didn't know that.
Wow.
And then donated it to Holy Rosary. And they knocked the building down and made the schoolyard, because our schoolyard was too small. So they expanded it, and that was the schoolyard for the upper grade kids.
Wow.
6th, 7th, and 8th graders. Yeah, pretty cool.
Oh, yeah, that is a neat piece of history.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, listen, we have a couple of minutes left. We've talked about events coming up. How can people learn more about the History Center? Just go to the website?
Yeah, they can go to the
What
website.
is the web- what is the
It's
website?
lawrencehistory.org. And on the website, you'll see news about events. You'll see search bars where you can search our digital collections, or we have curriculum and other resources available for teachers. You can search the website, and that searches our database to see what archives we have.
And you can buy books online.
Yep, you can buy books online, or you can come in
And that's a nice
person.
revenue source for the History
is.
Center.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes.
Especially, bless me, sister. If you guys need copies, you let me know.
I will. I think that we do. I think we just have this one in the archives, but we.
I'd be more than happy.
Yeah.
All kidding aside, I'd be more than happy when I get home, donate a couple of cases to you guys.
It's also where you can, if you're interested in sharing your story, your 100 stories for us, we would greatly appreciate that. You can go onto our website there.
Absolutely. And any contribution you make to the Lawrence History Center, folks, is tax deductible.
Yes.
Absolutely.
That we have to,
Yeah.
say.
And what the-
501c3.
Yes.
Absolutely. We're a little remiss, and if you really want to learn about the history, and we haven't even touched upon it today, is the Bread and Roses story of the whole history. I mean, that was
amazing.
I mean, that was just
throughout
an
the United
amazing,
States.
an amazing piece of history in the city of Lawrence that kind of spread out across the country.
Tommy, it resonated throughout the world.
Throughout the world.
Yeah.
So if that's a great place. Go to the History Center to learn all about the Bread and Roses riots and all of that good stuff.
And actually, I think this year was the first time that it had been addressed at the Feast of the Three Saints. I think Father Francis of Holy
Touched
Rosary
upon it.
Shrine
That's right. That's
touched
correct.
upon it, and it was really great because it kind of tied in the immigrant history with the Lawrence history, and
You
it's acknowledging it.
learn from history.
Absolutely.
There's some people that they want to just eliminate history.
Yeah.
Whether it be good or bad, you learn.
Right.
It's like some of these statues and some of the, they want to get rid of. You know something? There's a reason. We learn from it. Whether you like it or whether you don't like it, don't try to eliminate it. I mean, right, Tom?
I agree.
And that's
Yep.
what.
All right, listen, we're just about out of time. Girls, thank you so much for joining us. We enjoyed it. And we look
Anytime.
forward. Hopefully, we're going to see you guys are going to have a presence at the feast. We hope you do.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, thank you. And I hope everyone is encouraged to share their stories for the
We
100th anniversary.
we're
I expect
volunteering
your
the both of you.
stories.
Right.
I expect to see your stories in our inbox very soon.
Yes.
Meaning later today.
All right, with that being said, Mikey, have a great week.
Thanks, Tom.
Girls, thanks for coming into our viewers,
Thank you.
listeners,
Thank
and
you so
followers.
much.
Thank you for the support. And remember, if you can't make fun of yourself, please don't make fun of anyone.
And I'd like to conclude this show by saying anything is possible. Take care, everybody.
great
Have a
week.
nice weekend.
Take care.
Audio Jungle.
The views and opinions expressed by the hosts, guests, or callers of this program do not necessarily reflect the opinions of the Studio 21 Podcast Café, the United Podcast Network, its partners, or affiliates.